Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a really fun video because we are going to be talking about some obscure decks that I have in my collection that I feel like I never hear anybody talk about. Either I've heard it kind of sparingly that other people have these in their collection, or not at all, where I've never heard anybody else talk about these decks. So I thought that that would be a fun video for you guys to try to find decks that are a little bit less talked about, a little less popular. It's still like finding gems because these are really good decks that I love and I never hear anyone talk about. All right, so I'm gonna go in order from most heard about to least heard about. So the first deck we're gonna be talking about is the Raven's Wand Oracle. And this is by Stephen Hutton, and this is based off of a trilogy, which I have not read, and you don't need to read the trilogy to enjoy this Oracle deck. But this is an absolutely stunning Oracle deck that I don't feel like enough people talk about. So you get this little guidebook here. This is the back of the cards. Beautiful. So witchy. This is a very beautiful witchy deck. So if you like witchy decks, this one I definitely suggest you getting. Let me find this card. For some reason has called to me since I got it. It follows me. I love this card. You just get very witchy, beautiful cards in here. And I would love to read the book series just so I have a little bit of a better idea of the cards, but you can use them without reading the books. They are absolutely stunning, and I think more people should have this in their collection. I absolutely love this deck. It's like my mug. I have lipstick on it, sorry. I have some cran grape juice in there. It says bottoms up witches. I absolutely love it. All right, next up. Again, this is a deck that I've heard some about, but not a lot of people, I feel like, talk about this deck. And some people are into dragons and some are not. So if this is more for someone that's into dragon decks, I have quite a few dragon decks. I love dragons. So this is the Dragon Wisdom Oracle deck. And I actually first saw this on a channel of somebody talking about it, but it was in a different language. I believe it was like German or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need that deck, but I couldn't find it in English. And I did search for it, and the cover of the one that's in German was different than this cover. And I went into Barnes & Noble one day and I bought this because I like dragon decks without realizing it that this was the deck that I had been searching for. So this is by Christine Arana Fader and illustrated by Anja Costa. This is a wonderfully beautiful deck. Here are the backs of the cards, and here are the fronts. You just have all of these different colors of dragons with a keyword, and the artwork is just absolutely stunning. And I also want to mention that every single deck that I'm talking about today is a mass market deck. So you can get these very easily. They're all easily accessible decks. So I know there are a lot of decks out there, especially indie decks and things like that. Look how beautiful that is. But I wanted to make this a video with mass market decks that nobody talks about so that they are easily accessible, because there are obviously going to be a lot of decks, indie decks, that are a little bit more scarce out there because less people have them, less of them were made, all of that. Okay, next up we have the Goddess Temple Oracle cards. These are absolutely stunning. This is by Sarah Perini and Elena Albanese. This deck is also very like witchy, and it also reminds me of like Arthurian stuff, so it's awesome. The guidebook, I will say, will give you almost nothing. It gives you a little teeny tiny blip, like maybe a few sentences at the most. So these are cards to more go off of your intuition, what they make you feel, things like that. But the artwork is absolutely stunning. And these are the backs. Beautiful like moon design there. But this is just the deck. When I bring it out, it just feels so witchy and magical. And I wish more people talked about it. This is a stunning card, the Crone. Look at that. Oh, okay. I could talk about this deck all day long, but yeah, I don't know why more people don't have this deck. It could be because the guidebook's not very good, but either way, the way that the energy off the cards is and how they make you feel, I definitely think that you should get them, especially if you like witchier type decks. So once again, that's the Goddess Temple Oracle cards, and they are by Lo Scarabeo Publishing, if anybody is wondering. All right, next up we have a tarot deck. I think this is the only, yeah, this is the only tarot deck I have here. And this is the Wizard's Tarot. So I have heard a few more people talk about this one than some of the others, but this one is really cool. And I think I know why maybe some people don't buy it, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this is one of the very first tarot decks I ever bought because I thought it looked really cool and like creepy, and I love that. This is what the back of the box looks like. It looks like a scroll, and the sides of the box look really cool. And I love this artist's work. It's by Wizards of Barge. That's the artist, that's what he goes by. Yeah, Wizards of Barge. And I follow him on Instagram, and I absolutely love his work. I have some shirts that he's made, and I absolutely love his artwork. And my brother-in-law actually met him before and bought this deck as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, these are the back of the cards. And here's some of the fronts. So the minor arcana names have been changed in this one. Here's the Magician, really cool. And the artwork on this reminds me of Adventure Time, which is another reason I love looking at this deck. And it's just super weird and creepy. And as I love this deck, I bought it and then I kind of put it away and I didn't look at it for a while. And once I started to learn tarot a little bit more and understand the cards, I brought it back out to kind of see how the artwork related to the meanings of the cards as I've been learning them. And what I found with this deck is that the cards do not really relate to Rider-Waite at all. Now there are some that do kind of mirror Rider-Waite, like the Fool here does look very close. Like this is the Two of Cups card. And I don't really get like the traditional Two of Cups out of this card, but you do get other kind of feelings and interpretations from it. So I definitely don't suggest this for beginners. If you like the artwork, obviously get it. It's absolutely awesome artwork. And if you like Adventure Time, then check out this artist. He's really cool. But again, I'll probably come back to this once I learn the traditional tarot a little bit more and just try to get my own interpretations off of these cards, because there's no guidebook either. All there is like a little thing on the inside of the box, and it tells you that the beasts are wands, curses as cups, colts as pentacles, and swords as swords. So you don't get a guidebook to see kind of what the artist was intending with the artwork, which is a little bit of a bummer with these cards, because I really want to know like where he was going with it and his interpretation. But yeah, this is a really cool deck, and maybe that's why I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, is because they have a hard time working with it and things like that. But I definitely do really love this deck, and I do suggest it to anybody who likes weird, creepy things. All right, next up, this pile is decks that I've heard almost no one talk about before. Maybe one or two, but no more than that. So we are going to start off with the Chinese Oracle, and this is by Paulo Barbary. And he has some really awesome decks. I have his Unicorn Oracle, and I really want to get his Zodiac Oracle and his, I think it's called Fantasy Cats or something. I really love his artwork. It's absolutely stunning. So this deck is really interesting, and I've never had a deck quite like this, but this one's really cool. So there are only 24 cards in this deck, and there is white on the bottom, and then we have the black cards with black on the bottom. And you have the same card twice. So you'll have a white version of the monkey card, and you'll have a black version of the monkey card, and they are supposed to stand for the yin and yang of light and dark. So if you pull the white monkey card, it means like the positive attribute of the meaning of the card, and if you pull the black version of the card, it's like the negative version of the card. So it's kind of like pulling like a reversed tarot card in that way. So it's really cool. I feel like some people, I didn't know that when I got the deck. So it is very interesting. I understand why some people would not like that. Like, why do you get the same card twice? You can just pull it upside down. But I think it's really unique, I feel like, to have both cards in the deck, like a light version and a dark version, even though it's the same artwork and everything. I think it's really unique, and it's cool. I like it, and I love the imagery in this deck. I bought it specifically because I wanted like some more Chinese cards, more Chinese energy, because sometimes I just feel pulled to work with that kind of an energy. And yeah, just very beautiful. They're all based off of like Chinese zodiac signs for all of the animals. And it's cool because you have this little chart in the beginning, so you can see which what's your Chinese zodiac sign, and mine is the ox, and my husband's is the rat. So it's really cool that you can look in here and see what your Chinese zodiac sign is as well. And you don't have to work with these the way that they intend them to be worked with. I mean, you can pull out like the energy of the ox, let's say. So like if the energy of the ox, negative meaning, which is this black one, so the negative attributes to this card are slow, incapable to adapt, stubborn. So you could pull this out as like a weakness of yours. If you want to do it that way, you can kind of lay out your weaknesses and your strengths by using like the light and the dark attributes. And you can even have like the strong attributes of the ox and the dark attributes of the ox and lay them out, and have kind of both sides and try to focus on both of those attributes, and working on the negative, and also recognizing that you have the positive attributes as well. So I think that would be a really cool way to work with this deck. I haven't worked with it too much, but I really love the artwork and I want to work with it more, and I think it's really cool. All right, next up I have the Ancient Feminine Wisdom of Goddesses and Heroines deck, and I've only heard one other person talk about this deck ever, and I did do a video on this deck, and somebody commented down below that they were going to buy this because they'd never heard of it before, and that's kind of what inspired me to do this video, to talk about decks that I never hear about. This deck, if you like goddess decks, I think you need to get this one, because it's just it just brings a whole nother energy and vibe to the goddess decks. This is the back. And here's the beautiful fronts. Like, are you kidding me? Look at this beautiful artwork. It looks like a painting. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. And what I love about this deck is that it has a lot of goddesses that I've never heard of before. And I love that for learning purposes. And I also find this deck just reads very well just for if you're trying to get an answer. I feel like it's pretty straight on with the keywords that you get at the bottom. And the energy from this deck is just awesome. I absolutely love it. And I think anybody who likes goddess decks or doesn't like the typical goddess decks that you get a lot of, they would like this deck. I really do think so. And while the guidebook is this little white book, I really do like the information that it gives. But obviously, once you pull a card, you can Google more about that goddess or whatever, or do more research. So this one's by Kay Stevenson and Brian Clark, by the way. So really awesome deck. Love that one. All right, so this is the second to last deck, and I've never heard anybody talk about this deck, not one person. So this is a more obscure one. This is the Dream Decoder deck, and I've done a video on this one, unboxing it. Beautiful little box. And this one isn't really like a oracle deck, I would say. It's a little different. So what this deck is basically is just a deck of all different kinds of dreams that you can have. So on the front is the picture of the dream depicted, and the back has an explanation of what the dream means. So if you're into spirituality and studying dreams and dream work and things like that, I definitely think this is a deck that you should get, because I love looking into what my dreams mean spiritually, what they symbolize, things like that, why I feel the way I do in my dreams, you know. So it just has some really cool information. So I like to use these when I'm looking for answers to a certain dream, or I've had other people ask me what their dream means, and I will refer to this deck and see what it tells me about their specific dream. And it has 60 cards, I think. Yeah, so there's quite a few different kind of dream scenarios in here that I feel like you would be able to find the answers on pretty easily. And the fronts of the cards are very easy to kind of figure out what dream they're trying to talk about. So if you're trying to look through them fast, like, okay, I need to find the dream on this, you know, then you'll be able to find it. So this is about trees, mountains, and gardens. The imagery is very straightforward. Yeah, so I really love this deck for study purposes. I think it's just really cool to have, as maybe like if you're trying to learn a lot more about dreams, you can use them as kind of a like study tool to try to memorize them. I don't have them for that reason, to memorize what dreams mean. I just go to it more as like a reference. But I really do like having this deck in my collection to reference. Even though it's not something I look at all the time, it is useful when I do need it. And the text on this one is by Teresa Chong, and the illustrations are by Harriet Lee Marion. And once again, this is the Dream Decoder deck. All right, I saved the best deck for last. I do not understand why more people don't have this deck, talk about this deck, love this deck. I don't understand. I absolutely am obsessed with this deck, and I've never heard anybody else talk about it or say that they have it in their possession. But this is a wonderful deck. This is the Inspirational Visions deck, Oracle cards by Judy Mastrangelo. And there are like, I think she maybe has one or two more decks that she's illustrated, but this one's all her. She wrote the guidebook and she did the cards, and this is such a whimsical, beautiful kind of fairy tale deck without being overly in your face. And it looks like a cute little book, like on your shelf. And this is what the guidebook looks like. It is in full color, and it's just a work of art in itself, the little book. I love it. And then we have the beautiful cards. This is what the back looks like, and it has gilded blue edges. And this is what the fronts look like. The artwork on this is beautiful. So, like for example, this one is Excalibur. Be strong and honest, and you will achieve your quest. So this is based off of, you know, King Arthur, obviously. And then you have cards like this, Elf Scribe. So that's not inherently like based on anything specific, but it still feels whimsical and fairy tale without kind of being tied to a specific fairy tale. And when I first unboxed this and did my video, I was like, yeah, this would be more for like lighthearted kind of readings, but there are some deep cards in here, and I feel like you'd be able to get deep messages and meanings out of them. And I feel like this would be a good deck for working like inner child work and things like that. Like, look how magical that is. Fairy honeymoon. Life can be eternal bliss when you love and are loved. Like, just beautiful messages. And you do have some more traditional kind of fairy tale cards in here. This is Sleeping Beauty. Awaken to the love of life. We have Jack and the Giant. Merlin and young Arthur. There's also some like Alice cards in here. They're not coming up right now, but this is an absolutely stunning, beautiful deck, and I don't understand why more people don't have this deck, you guys. It is beautiful. I love it. It feels so magical. Definitely a deck for inner child work. I really, as I'm looking at these again, there's so many things I could think of to work with my inner child with these. And this is not like a small deck. This is 55 cards, I think. So you get quite a few cards if you just, another way that I would suggest using these, like if you just want to feel magic in your life, like you want to bring like a magical energy into your space, this deck would be beautiful for doing that. Like, for example, I'm just going to pull a card here and then I'll explain what I mean. So this one says, Moon Fairy Goddess, you are too lovely and kind. So you can set this in your space and kind of embody that you are the Moon Fairy Goddess and you are magical and you are all of these things. So I absolutely adore this deck, and I want to talk about it today so that more people know about it and might possibly get it, because it is stunning and I can't believe I've never heard anybody talk about it. It is so cute, but it's not just cutesy for the sake of it. Like, it really does evoke certain feelings and things like that. So I love that deck. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there are any decks that I talked about today that you've never heard of before, any that you liked. If you guys have any suggestions on decks that you know about that you don't feel like a lot of people talk about, please comment down below and let me know. But yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.